Hey bikers, thanks for tuning in to another Bikerman video. Today we're doing something a little bit different, and I'm asking the question, what do I want from a winter bike? In my case, it's a mud bike. I'll get more into that in the video, but thanks for tuning in. Like, subscribe, and we'll see you out there. So I guess before we get into what I'm looking for in a winter bike, or I'm just going to call it a mud bike for this video. What I'm looking for in a mud bike is something that I can ride off the road throughout the season. Now, we live in North Texas, and for the winter, it's wet more than it is snowy. We do sometimes get snow, we do sometimes get ice, but it's really more of the exception than it is the rule. The rule is everything is muddy. Now, before I get too deep into this, I want all you mountain bikers out there to take it easy for a second. I'm not riding established mountain bike trails that people are working on, that people have created for mountain biking. And in this area, there are those kinds of mountain bike trails, if you've seen some of my other videos, but there are also a lot of dirt roads that connect to fishing areas or hunting areas, places that you can go and you can hike, or you can drive your car, or you can go jeeping, but that typically aren't for riding bikes. And as you'll see in this video, some of these areas are pretty sketchy, but at the same time, in the winter, when the mountain bike trails are closed because they are too muddy, I can hit some of these areas and really have some nice rides, be outside, feel a little bit like I am mountain biking. But the trick is that they get muddy and they stay muddy for months on end. So we can see some really cool stuff at an time of year when you normally wouldn't be able to. Now, what I'm thinking about doing is actually getting a bike specifically for this. I know there's a lot of videos out there about people who get winter bikes or snow bikes. For me, it will be a mud bike. And the reason I really want to do this is because the mud is so hard on the components of the bike. And this video, the video that I shot on this one day, just goes to show how tough it is. It gets way up in the gears. It gets all over the place, not to mention all over me. But it would just be a nightmare to have to go through a whole season of every time I go on a bike ride, keeping the gears and the pedals and everything mud free. Now, I don't mind doing it on a bike that I didn't put much money in, or if I can have one bike that I just destroy all the time and then use my primary bike for normal rides, so I'm not having to, do a deep clean every single time. That's really what I'm thinking about wanting. And I wasn't sure until I went out and took this ride that it was something that I wanted to commit to. But now I know. It was such a cool day. I saw some rad stuff, some stuff that I would have never gone to otherwise. And you can see some of this crazy mud here. But anyway, the point is that I want to do it. I figured out that I want to do it, and I wanted to talk about some things that I'm thinking about as far as what I want in a mud bike, and I wanted to get your thoughts and opinions. Maybe you have some experience with it. But I'm going to go through my list based on my ride, and put your comments down below if there's anything that you would add, or if you disagree with any of my perspective. But this is, again, just going based on my own experience. So first and foremost, the thing that I'm looking for is clearance. During this ride, this was a few days after a rain. During this ride, the mud was getting caught between the tires and the fork and the tires and the frame. That was the number one thing. I had to stop maybe 3 or 4 times to clear it. So I want as much clearance as I possibly can get. You can see it kind of building up on the tires throughout the video. So that's number one. My first thought was, well, I want some bigger tires to, give me a good footprint in the mud, but I actually don't think that that's the case. I think I'm running a 2-inch tire on this bike. I think that's probably about the max that I would want to go personally, just because this mud is like clay here, and it just absolutely grips those tires and then gets stuck. I also think that V brakes would be out of the question. I don't have V brakes on this bike that I'm riding in the video. It's Trek 6000. I've got disc brakes. I think that's the way to go. I didn't have any issues with the disc brakes on the ride, but I could imagine that if I had V brakes, that that mud would be getting caught up in those brakes. Okay, so that's the first thing. Clearance, clearance, clearance. Those are the things that I really care about. Also, I think simplicity in shifting would be ideal. This is a 3x7 drivetrain that I have on this bike, and by the end of the ride, there were only a couple of gears that it was really shifting through. The other ones were getting gunked up pretty bad, so I would want as few gears as possible, just as few things really as possible for that mud to get stuck on. So that's probably something I'd probably be thinking about, a 1x drivetrain. Also, grip was a big thing, primarily because I had to hop off my bike several times to clear the tires or whatever. My boots would get a little bit muddy or wet, and so I definitely would want some bigger, grippier pedals. I don't normally use the lock-in pedals. I've just never used them, but after this ride I was thinking, oh, is that something I might actually want? But probably not. I'll probably just stick with what I know, and grippier pedals would definitely be on there. I've gone back and forth in my head about whether or not any kind of a mud fender or mud flap would be worth it. I know that they make some that just attach to your seat post, and so you could still have great clearance. But I wasn't really covered in mud. It was really mostly the bike, and that might just be unique to my type of, the type of surface that I'm working with as far as the mud's concerned. But I'd love your guys' thoughts on that. I've never used one of those, so if you have, let me know what you think about that below. And then, lastly, this is going to be my second bike. My first bike isn't even, a super expensive bike. Price is going to be an issue. I think that I want to find a used bike that has disc brakes and kind of do the other things that I want to do from there, finding it in the right size and whatnot, obviously. But I don't know what the price range is going to look like, but I'm going to be, beating this thing up a little bit. I mean, you could see some of these areas that I'm riding, like this field here. There ends up being a road here, but it's just you're just kind of bushwhacking, which is stuff that I love, which is so much fun. But do I want to be doing that on my primary riding bike every time that I'm out there? I don't think so. This is the kind of thing that will cause you to have to tune up your bike. So anyway, so the 5 things that I think are important in getting a mud bike: the clearance, the simplicity of shifting, grip, possibly a mud fender, and the price. But I would love to hear your guys' thoughts, and anything that you would add, anything that you would subtract, let me know that below. And if you were going to be building a mud bike, what would you be looking for? And would a mud bike make sense for you in your area? Are you dealing with mud like I am, or you deal with snow? What do you got going on this winter? So anyway, thank you so much for tuning in. It was a really fun ride. I look forward to getting your suggestions, and from there, along with my thoughts, hunting down a bike, and maybe we could do a little build video together, and do some more of these fun little adventures out here on the Bikerman channel. So thanks again for tuning in. If you've watched this far, I'd really appreciate you subscribing. Again, leave me your thoughts below, share the channel around, and I appreciate you. I'll see you out there.